Welcome back for another video. I'm Eharbad, and in today's video, which is episode 43 in the 2023 free-to-play challenge series, we are in Doom Tower. I said in yesterday's video that I would show my run from floor 81 through to 90. I've done the first 5 floors, I've used the same team throughout, and there wasn't any particularly difficult or unusual enemy composition that warranted necessarily demonstrating it or showing it. So to make the video not excessively long, let's do 86 onwards together. Also, 86, I noticed we have Valkyrie popping up, so we might start to struggle. I'm going to take it off auto. In fact, we've got double Torment in the first wave as well. Let's get the first set of things done, get our freezes out. We didn't manage to freeze that Mortu, nor this champion here. So it's a bit of an awkward one because I only have really 2 CC champions. Given that we've got 2 Mortus here, we might have to think about swapping. But I'm just going to A1, try and get a bit of TM reduction there. We hadn't procced Peril, so that's good. Hopefully we'll be able to cycle back around. Let's strip that buff. Hopefully we can get back around to this champion here, Skaramis, and get the provokes out. We are able to. Then we'll use Theodore to do damage. Theodore could be swapped for Artak. It does work very much the same way. It's just Theodore outputs damage that bit quicker. And because he doesn't attack as much, particularly against Mortu, it's a safer proposition. But, we could be running something else. This Mortu, I think we will leave for the time being. I'm just going to try and get the freeze off on that one, which we didn't manage to, which is a bit of a problem, to be honest. We'll try and drop TM. We also didn't manage. It's not looking good. Skaramis is almost dead. But we're going to have to increase our speed. Peril comes out. We'll give it a go anyway. We'll carry on. But already we might have to be restarting, to be honest. I would say we're not going to get through all 3 waves without one of our key champions. We were quite unlucky on the A1s, to be honest. Like, we didn't get any procs on TM drop. We didn't get procs from the freeze. And you kind of need a bit of luck. Again, like, not a single proc from the freeze there, which is a bit of a problem. See what the second wave is, at least so we know. Okay, the second wave, there's nothing particularly challenging here. Should have our freeze up. And then with Theodore, we'll just put some damage out. So it's really a question of, can we get good RNG in the first wave? And then with the Valks are going to be problematic because we're a very buff-heavy team. So I kind of want to get through and see what it looks like. I also, in this composition, don't have decreased defense, which is generally a bit of a problem. You can see how much damage we take from these waves at this level. But it's going to be difficult to bring every mechanic that we want in. But let's just see if we can even get through. I don't think Theodore and Brogni can solo it. Although Brogni is in Guardian and Theodore is in Regen, they can do a little bit of sort of soloing. But I'd say, given the damage that these enemies are doing, it ain't going to happen. Right. If we go back and edit our team, what options do we have? We might actually have to drop Brogni and bring in a form of decreased defense, and this way at least we get a little bit more TM control to see if we can cycle back round. Let's try this, and we'll open buff for Razzlevarg, try and get the freezes out. Pretty much clean. Only 1 champion didn't. Get leeches out. Probably shouldn't have attacked him, but I did. Let's try and get a freeze out on that Mortu. Get the provokes going. Get the damage from Theodore. And this is kind of roughly how these difficult floors I have to navigate them. It's kind of a case of giving it a go with sort of what I'd consider my standard team, and then swapping around, get the freeze out on Mortu to A1, keep an eye on that TM there. We'll try and drop TM. Then what is our next move? Do we have the freeze back yet? We might do. So we do. We'll put poisons out again, get a leech out again. This time we'll try and heal ourselves. Do a bit more TM control across the board, going for the freeze on that Mortu. And we'll try and kill that Venus there. Damage out. Then who has highest turn meter? We'll try and get a freeze off, although we failed because of weak hits. I'm going to leave that Mortu for the time being till it's out of its freeze. And then I'll probably try and refreeze the Mortu. Did get it. So like I showed in the first run, we kind of just needed a little bit of good RNG on these waves, a bit of good RNG on the Mortu. Hopefully we'll get something similar with the Valkyrie. My concern is that we kind of need to get our 2 buffs on from Razelvarg, and is that going to drop our TM so much that we're not actually able to get our turns away? And if we don't do the Razelvarg, do we have enough speed and accuracy to be able to use Deacon's abilities instead? I don't know, because I don't know what speed the Valkyries are running at. Do the damage from Theodore. Probably try and get a freeze off here to minimize the amount of damage that Skaramis will take. In an ideal world, Skaramis would be swapped for a hard CC champion, because simply put, these enemies are beginning to do so much damage that even with decreased attack, which he doesn't actually put out that consistently, I'm struggling to stay alive, basically. I just went for the freeze there to avoid taking too much damage. Now I'm planning on pretty much trying to cycle back, but also trying to stay healthy. Let's drop the TM if we can. We try and go for a freeze. And we'll try and drop turn meter here. It's really about managing the turn meter, managing the turns that everyone takes. We have a regen set on Theodore. That's not so much of an issue. Deacon took a bit of damage there. Can't use that. This is not ideal. Let's see what we can do. One of the abilities that I won't need on the first wave. Right, at least we're through. I think I'm going to try it. Okay, because Skaramis is in high resistance, as is Theodore. At least get the provokes off. That will get us through the first set of Valkyrie nonsense. I might end up putting Evil Eye onto Razelvarg as well, to be honest. I think I'll go for an A1 freeze here, hold back on the AoE freeze until more of these champions are off their crowd control. Against Skaramis, looking pretty risky right now. Who can we drop turn meter on? Let's drop it on that one. Go for an A1 freeze there because we got 2 stuns. The line there. So it's just really, like I say, it's just about managing and get a bit of heal there. He does so little damage. Ultimately, he'd be much better served in a regen set. I just don't have enough regen. And I don't have the ability to do all the quality of builds that would be required. We don't need to use Provoke just yet. Get the leeches out. We'll try and get the freeze off over here on Cold Heart. Drop the turn meter on Valkyrie. Get the damage out. Buff ourselves once more. Get the provokes off. In fact, was resisted. But with the decreased defense out there, it wasn't so much of an issue. Tried to get the freeze off. Didn't work. And I'll just re-decrease the defense. We'll take the counter attack. Try and get the kill off. Hit auto. And that floor is done. 6 minutes 30. These are not easy. Not easy at all. I quite liked that overall team composition. I do feel that we lose a little bit by not having Brogni. But if we can avoid taking any debuffs, it's probably worth it. We've got a lot of force here, which is a bit of a problem. Don't know if that's going to work for us, to be honest. So we might have to swap. Yeah, we're going to have to do some swaps. I think for this, we'll go back to our regular team. And even then, we might actually swap out. We might go for the Stag Knight version, so we can get a good consistent decrease attack on. I'll start on auto. We'll do our initial set of skills, and then once we've cycled back round once, I'll probably take it off auto. But the first thing, I have a preset to make sure that for the initial sets of waves, they actually use their skills correctly. Potentially, Creedon might be better than Skaramis in that spot. Let's take it off auto and see if we can start to manage things. Hopefully we get some decreased speed. Still got enough time to be using our abilities, although I'd say this will probably be the last time we use each of these skills. So we're in a position to save them for the next wave. So I held back with Theodore, for instance, just then. So we just got to make sure we get all of these enemies killed. And that we stay alive in doing so. And this is kind of what I was getting at. I try different teams depending on what we're fighting. It's about being dynamic, swapping in what you need. This is pretty much my very initial base team. This team will basically full auto all of normal, and did full auto quite a number of floors on the way up to here, but now it's getting a bit more tricky. And with that team, I had Artak in place of Theodore, which, like I said, does work. Theodore just outputs that little bit more damage, so it's a bit quicker. We'll do it in a few less turns, and why not? If you have the ability to do that, why would I not do it? But he's not mandatory. We've got increased speed coming from Razelvarg anyway. It is nice to get that decreased speed occasionally, but because it's the third ability in the cycle, by the time we actually get the decreased speed on, we're already pretty far through the wave, so it doesn't tend to be that impactful. You'll notice I'm beginning to struggle actually with accuracy numbers, which is definitely a bit of a problem as we get into the higher stages. I'm very reliant on the increased accuracy that we get from Razelvarg. So Razelvarg actually is doing so much work. An amazing fusion. He's been so transformative on the account. Obviously been, completely game changing in Clan Boss, but also in most dungeons and in Doom Tower as well. Like a phenomenal champion. That's all you tend to need is you have one or two real game-changing champions that can form the linchpin and at least enable you to get through the content. And then you end up, as you pull more of these game-changing champions, they optimize each location. But it's not like you need every single one of them. You don't need every piece of content to be optimized initially. It's just a question of, can you get the content done? So I think once we've done this wave, what I'll do, because otherwise this video could end up being really, really long, I'll go ahead and carry on trying to do the rest of the waves. If we do come across another interesting one, like the Valkyrie wave with the Mortus, I'll show that in its entirety. If the next thing you see is the boss stage, then you know there were no other interesting waves, and they were much like this one that just required a bit of skill management to get through. So actually, the very next floor has turned out to be very, very challenging, simply because they're just doing too much damage. So I'm actually going to try and bring in Demitha to give me a little bit more tankiness and see if that will help us get through. So we'll once again start with the same things, but here we can extend our buffs with Demitha and see if that will help us get through instead. And obviously we have enough healing coming from Demitha to try and keep our champions alive, because this floor hits hard, particularly these Dark Elhanes, like extremely painful. I'm going to hold back on the A3 for just a second. Hopefully we can cycle back around and use it before the enemies go. Particularly the Dark Elhanes, that's really what I'm looking at. I think Skaramis is going to take a turn straight away, but anyway, we've got block damage out for a second. At least on Skaramis. And drop the turn meter. Get our buffs back up. Heal. See how much healing that A2 on Demitha does. Like, it's fantastic. And then we can at least not get debuffed, not get provoked. Let's try and get these buffs off them. Then I think this team is going to probably get the job done. It's really a question of, do we have our skills back off cooldown that we need? We don't have block on that. This isn't going to work. I really need Demitha to be slowest. I have that an extra, heal. Try and get some decreased speeds out. Beach out. Hopefully we can get in and get Brogni's buff up before Skaramis dies. No, didn't work. So I think in this regard, the best thing for me to do would be to actually slow down Demitha slightly. 228 here. What can I swap? And let's give that a go. And I'd got rid of Stagnite. Right then, give it a go again. So we'll start on auto. Get that going, and this part I will just do increase buff duration. It's the second cycle round. We'll put out the block damage. With Demitha going last, we should be in a better position to do it. Maybe we should have put block damage on initially. But we'll see. Still a while before Skaramis takes a turn. Hopefully these enemies will come in between. Deal with all of that quite nicely. Try and get rid of Elhanes. Off myself again. Hopefully we can get Brogni's shield out once more. Well, this is looking rough. But we're going to need that for the next wave. We need to kind of kill these, but slowly. I'm going to avoid using the AoE ability. Avoid using our provoke because we need it for the next wave. At least get the heal out. Try and strip the buffs though. Otherwise these champions are going to do too much damage. Rid of the Elhain. Now it's really a question of can we cycle back round to have our abilities off of cooldown for the next wave. We do have block damage from Demitha, which will probably help us on the very first rotation, even if we don't have Brogni's shield ready, but we do. At which point, do this, and we will go for the block damage approach. For some reason, Demitha doesn't have the extend available yet. Slightly out of sync. But it's not a problem with the block damage. We're able to get through quite nicely and grow our shield with Brogni. Still got that block damage out on Skaramis. So this seems to be working quite smoothly. We'll increase our buff duration. Didn't seem to keep block debuffs up on Skaramis. Not entirely sure what happened there. I think he should have had it, unless someone removed it on the enemy team. Couple of provokes off there. To go A1. Are we going to be able to get some protection up? Yeah, we are, before Elhain goes and uses her ability. We're staying pretty healthy right now. I'm probably going to hold back. But that might be a mistake. We'll see. Try and strip these buffs. With Brogni. Get some leech out to heal. Drop attack if we can. Now the real question is, can we kill Angar without killing ourselves? And so we can have our skills back off of cooldown. That's got to be the hope. But it's not going so well so far. Can we get a TM drop? We do. Fortunately, it doesn't do too much damage. It looks like we'll just get through. And I think we're going to do the same thing again. Buff ourselves across the board. And I will once again use the block damage. At least when they all use their A1s on Skaramis, he won't be hurt. And we should, in theory, be able to get through this wave without too many issues. So I go for full auto at this juncture. The skills are all nicely synced up. We've got a good number of buffs across the board. Should be coming back round to Brogni's shield once more. Oh, that crit hurt. On Brogni shield. There we go. Which probably will come back to block damage as well, and the extra heal. Cleanse ourselves. Pretty solid team. I gotta say, like, Demitha adds so much sustain to a composition, particularly with Brogni. The Brogni-Demitha combo is delightful. Right then. I'm going to try the same composition in this next wave. If there is an issue, you'll come back and I'll talk about it. Otherwise, I'll see you on the boss. Well, we're actually back later in the day rather than immediately being on the boss stage. this floor 89 is proving to be just impossible at the moment. Let me jump in and I'll show you what we're facing. So first off, we have to have Razelvarg at the moment because we need the increased accuracy coming from his A3. Otherwise, we don't have enough accuracy to be able to apply any debuffs, particularly on the Mountain Kings that require 350 accuracy to be debuffed. We don't necessarily need Brogni, but he is our main form of sustain. We don't necessarily need Theodore, but he is our main form of damage. So when we got the provokes up, our best bet I've found is to use the A3 to get the block damage up. Obviously that didn't work against Baron, who managed to avoid being provoked, which was just a bit of bad RNG. But our main issue comes from the Mountain Kings, is that we can't CC them 100% of the time, and we can't actually decrease their damage that they do either. So we'll get the heal coming out of Demitha now, and then it's like I said, it's the Mountain Kings. If they both take a turn, they will kill us, and even at this rate, we're going to die before we even get there. So we can try a couple of different things. Maybe the solution, because I don't have a reviver, so maybe the solution that we could try would be actually to drop Theodore instead and bring in Creedon. Like, that's certainly a viable strategy. Problem is we've got, 4 magic and Mountain King is force, so that's not going to help. We're also going to have to keep locked down for a very long time, and we still don't have decreased defense in this composition. So it's just, I've tried a number of different things. I've tried bringing in Husk, but the stun is not consistent. And again, I will need the increased accuracy to even have a hope in hell of doing it. But yeah, we'll try without Theodore for a second. We'll see how this one goes. But essentially, it almost doesn't matter what I do. I don't think I have the builds right now to be able to do it. So we'll come in, we'll get the freezes out. We will just increase our buff duration this time. And we'll extend our shield. We'll go for a freeze on Baron. We'll get the provokes out. Get the block damage out. So this time the Mountain Kings will hit our Skaramis. But you can see the big issue we've got here is there's literally no damage. So I don't know what's going to happen. I don't think we're going to be able to beat the wave, but we'll give it a go. But we're basically doing 0 damage. Drop the turn meter there. And you can see just as soon as the Mountain King gets a turn, both dead. Came before we were able to do the buff. So what else can we say? Well, our other approach is that we keep our damage. It's the only form of damage we have. We could say, well, maybe we drop Brogni, as we're not really worried about too many of the debuffs on the waves, but we need a way of reviving. Arbiter's our main reviver. I would need to increase her HP so she doesn't get targeted, but she also doesn't really bring anything else. Demasa could potentially try rebuilding her. At least we'd have a heal on the A2 and a revive on the A3, and at least a sleep, to be honest, on the A1. But given we used Theodore or Artak for damage, that's not going to work. We could try rebuilding Crimson Helm. So the current build isn't going to work, but that is certainly an option, predominantly coming from this provoke with block damage on the A2. And we could really try and target the Mountain Kings. Like I said, Husk is a possibility, but I find that it hasn't been working that well for me. We can't drop Razelvarg because of the increased accuracy, but maybe if we actually rebuilt champions to have more accuracy, we could potentially get away with not using him, maybe using Theodore lead instead. I think Skaramis has just about enough accuracy with the lead. I think we need about 350, so he's a little bit shy and could be improved to make it work. But yeah, so we're kind of, I would say overall, we're at a little bit of an impasse. We can potentially try and do a lot of rebuilds, but we're in a bit of a sticky spot. Our other option, whilst we're here, is to try the Demitha Brogni team one more time, but we could try the Shamil version. We again need a reviver. In this case, it'll be Arbiter, and we'll still need a form of crowd control, which I think will have to be Skaramis. We could potentially even go for 2 forms of crowd control. That might be the way to go. We could give that. So do we have enough accuracy on Creedon? We do. So yeah, we could try that. I'm really clutching at straws. Very much so. So we'll go like this. We'll get freezes out. Actually didn't get the freezes we needed, but let's just... We only get halfway. The Shamil only does half the amount of damage required to be able to do the one shot. So we're quite far away from one shotting with Shamil. We'd need quite a lot more crit damage. And I've kind of built him with Hydra in mind. But yeah, I don't have the stats to be able to get Shamil to the one shot territory. So like I said, we're kind of in a tricky position. I'll give it one more go, just so you can kind of see. This, for me, is generally my best team, where we have double crowd control. That tends to be kind of, if I really need to control a wave, this is my best approach to do it. But you'll soon find that we end up just dying. Folks, the problem is Skaramis will not be able to self-sustain. That's basically the issue. We're kind of at a point where we need hard crowd control. The soft crowd control just doesn't quite cut it. Hopefully Creedon can come back in. We'll try, it's again, it's weak affinity, but we'll try and get a freeze off so we don't take as much damage. Hope we can get some decreased speeds out, try and drop that turn meter there. But it's very much on the edge. You see each time that Mountain King comes in, it's just so much damage. None of the freezes landed. Baron goes. Skaramis is dead. Oh man. Yeah, so it's just, I don't think it's actually doable with the current builds I have. And I'm not going to stress out too much about trying to fix it. One solution would be to try and boost Skaramis's effective HP. He's actually not that high, mostly because he's been built with the resistance for Hydra. So my initial thought would be probably try and get Skaramis in a really high effective HP build. If I could put him in either a bolster set or a regen set or even a guardian set, just to give him some form of sustain, that would probably be the way to go. That'd probably be the best approach. But yeah, other than that, I'd say there's a couple of other things that might ultimately help. Snick track eventually could come in. I think with ally protection, that would help quite a lot for us to be able to get through. There is no way of actually reducing Mountain King's damage, so I can't bring decreased defense or decreased attack. There is no equivalent, as Mountain King is an HP nuker. But the decrease of speed would really help quite a lot. And obviously Snick Track being positive affinity. But there's another couple of things that I was thinking. One being Newt himself, or Gnut, however we want to be pronouncing it. When I eventually get this fusion, I think this will help massively. I could kind of crowd control the Mountain Kings pretty consistently with Gnut. And what else? There was something else in the daily logins. It's a while away, but still would help, predominantly because we end up with a form of sustain and a single target revive, which is really important for those kind of tricky stages where you do occasionally need a natural revive. But that is 8 days away for Syl, and we've only got 2 weeks left. So like it's theoretically possible. And then there was one other champion I wanted to talk about, and that is Vogoth. Vogoth, again, being positive affinity and having a good chance to provoke, could be a solution in terms of bringing a bit of crowd control. Has another way of me bringing the leech as well, which I kind of miss, and an increased accuracy aura. There's also Nullhorn, who we could try and use the provoke and unkillable and try and like use that to our advantage. But my Nullhorn's only 5-star, similar to Vogoth, and I think I'm more likely to 6-star Vogoth than Nullhorn. Although I think I want to 6-star Snick Track first. Yeah, so there are possibilities, but for the time being, I think we are a bit stuck. If I do manage to figure it out, I will obviously include it in a video and let you know. But I think with the current champions and the builds that I have, it's going to be a little bit too difficult. I think we just need better builds, basically. Speaking of better builds, we can actually finally use this. I wanted to do it within a video itself. We had Husk, 6-star soul from quite a while now, and this Husk is now fully awakened. And my decision on which blessing to go for, there's essentially two that are kind of good candidates: Cruelty and Crushing Rend. We know Crushing Rend really improves at the 6-star level, and in theory for Husk, I would say Crushing Rend kind of makes the most sense. However, I quite like the idea of Cruelty because of this decreased defense part here, which I feel like it would benefit my whole team more than just getting more damage out of Husk by himself. So my feeling is to go for Cruelty rather than Crushing Rend, but chime in the comments, let me know what you think, and we'll probably pick it in the next video. Right, I think that is going to be it for this video. That's going to be it for today. I'm going to keep on cracking on, just doing the daily grind, doing pretty well on the fusion. That's all coming together quite nicely. You can see now got 7 of these rares already at 40. We got one of the voids who's 1-star 40, 1-star 4-star level 1. And yeah, just kind of going through the motions. Yeah, it's all kind of under control. The champion training tournament at the moment is what I've been working on. I will probably use a few more gems today. I want to make a bit of kind of a real kick on in this. And then we got Ice Golem dropping tomorrow. And that's kind of it. Dungeon Divers, I think, is well under control. I've nearly got the fragments. I've spent quite a few gems this weekend. I'm not worried about spending them. I've got plenty of gems. I wanted to get the legendary tome from the champion training event, which I did. I ended up finishing a decent placement even on the dragon tournament, which was something I decided was worth a couple of, 2 or 3 extra refills to do. Essentially 2,913 points. We got 150 energy. And it was just a judgment call. Like I said, we have the resources. We're in a good position, so we might as well try and maximize what we've got to do. I probably will get the epic tome, the artifact enhancement, 600 points roughly left to get that. And we've got 8 million silver, and we should earn quite a lot of silver over the next few days before the final artifact enhancement event drops. Whenever that is, I can't even remember. Anyway, thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye for now.